Okay, before the break, we were looking at some things with vectors and Newtonian physics and uh, rigid bodies and static bodies. Those are the ones we want to use to work with to get the most control over them. Character body is like a simplified version, but it's we sacrifice a lot for that, and it only about half of our major game engines have a character body, and they all treat them differently. So it's not transferable skill set. So rigid body is the one that transfers. Rigid bodies, static bodies, and kinematic bodies transfer to all of our game engines. Look at that. I had made a note as we started class, a reminder announcement. I'll say it again now as we go into the second break because I think some people were a little bit late. Please note that there are 2 due dates on the discussion boards. Your initial post is due by Thursday, and that way there's time for your classmates to reply to them. So if your initial post isn't there by Thursday at midnight, there is a small late penalty on that. So pay attention to the 2 due dates. Okay. Look. So one other thing, before those, we'll just use this project that we the little intro example. There's still a lot to go here. Right. All next week, we're going to be doing. We're going to be coding these sort of things. Still a lot to go here, but properly controlling the physics. And by the end of next week, the controls we put in will feel a lot more natural to people to play a lot of games. Also, by the end of next week is when the first assignment's due, and we'll be submitting them to GitHub. So for the submission, when you get done, you're just going to want to do a small video of the game, showing the game in action. So a couple ways to do that. You can go to get the video. The easiest way to do that in Ivy Learn in the green navigation at the left, there's Canvas Studio. So you can just do a screen capture software here, and then this is included in like the submission spot. There's a button on the submission that says Studio, so you can just upload your video for that. You just go to Create, and Screencast-O-Matic is some pretty nice screen capture software. Or if you have something else, feel free to use that. But a short step, it doesn't have to be the full playthrough of the game, just enough to see it working. But if you want to do a full playthrough when you put your portfolio together after graduation, a full playthrough of the game might be better as a video to put on your portfolio website. Might be a better idea, better option, or a good option there. So make sure you get a video actually showing the game being played, and then upload that and send me a link to the GitHub repository. And Godot does have a version control built in, so we can use the version control here. We'll look at that next time because I accidentally messed things up. I don't think that software installed. We'll look at that in the next example. But then what you'll do is just push the examples up to GitHub and submit the link to the repository. But the first one of those will be next week, so I just need to make sure that that's something we cover next week. I didn't realize I hadn't installed that on this computer, and that caused all kinds of problems. I have to go through the config files now and delete random lines of config files to get that corrected. which y'all probably don't want to see me do that in class. So there's some other stuff we need to do. So moving on to the next step, some graphics things that we need to do. So I updated those instructions kind of the way I said I was going to do last week. So for the, or not last week, like I said, I was going to do on Monday. For the assignments, it's at least 50% has to be your own art. So half of it has to be your own, and half of it can be things you download. There's lots of places to download stuff. And find assets and purchase things or download free ones for class, obviously. And by the end of the class, you'll want to be familiar with some of these sites because we're going to go the other way. And if you want to sell some of your stuff for other people to use in their games. A good one is Godot Marketplace. This is GodotMarketplace.com. It doesn't really take a whole lot more to type in the full address to search it. We can come in here and start narrowing things down. So, like first week we have tile sets. So, probably textures and materials. Or maybe search tile set. Free tile set. Well, it completely ignored the free part in my search, but you see, there's a whole lot of them on there to choose from. And you just want to set it up so that you can you do that character. You might have to mix and match a little if you download a entire tile set. You might have to. That might be more than 50% of your game assets, so you'll need to go in and include a couple. So what I wanted to look at was just some little points on making them. We will need to make a tile set at some point, right? So, you can go back in Inkscape like we used before, and yeah, there's a couple different ways to handle this, but one thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that our tile sets line up, that everything matches up. So obviously you could do sort of like a little block and then make that green and say that's the ground. They get from say it's a rock. We can do a little bit better. Still like if it was brown. I'm going to grab the little pencil tool here and just do a couple of lines in. Great, there we go. I'll add a line there. Here. But if we start adding decoration to it, it might not line up perfectly. Right? We want our tiles to line up. So really that involves just book matching. So let's look at a little bit of that. So tool I'm going to use here, right above that freeform pencil is the pen tool, which draws straight lines. So like if I click and then come out, it's going to draw a straight line going down, straight down. So come down and click again, it gives us a different spot to line up to. So I'll just do this a few times. That's probably good. It looks like I didn't get it completely straight. I can see from the way this doesn't line up right next to that. So if I go to the second tool down, that allows us to edit each one of those vertices. So I can adjust those to make sure I have something perfectly square. And then we want the left and right hand sides to line up. So I could adjust that, so the top, looks like all the sides are square there. I'm going to the selection tool and just copy and paste, get another one, and I have to look for it in menus. But then we could flip that around horizontally, right up here, flip it horizontally or vertically. When we flip it horizontally, now that inside part lines up, but we also know that that outside part is going to line up perfectly well as well. So if we select maybe hold shift, select both of those and switch it to a green color, that'll look like grass at the beginning at the top of a block. There we go. I could probably do just something brown behind it. So I put a square in the same spot and choose brown. And then up to object and lower that all the way to the bottom so it's behind everything else. We know that that's the tile that's going to match up left and right. So you just want to take your time and pay attention to that. That'll work. So we'll go back and select all of it. Then you just want to think about what size is your object going to be. Good tile size would be 64 by 64. So we come up here and start that at 0, 0 and make it 64 pixels. 64 pixels. It's really big. Oh, it's zoomed in quite a bit. I guess 64 by 64 might be kind of big. I'll go with it though. That gives us one of our tiles. Make a copy of that. To do some editing to it. Right. So we know where it would go. It would go 64 pixels over, 0 pixels down, still the same size, but we can, since we're on decent software, we can come in here and edit that like grass at the top. And make a corner piece so that so at the edge of our thing, we want the platform to come around. Start with one thing and then make a copy of it in small edits until you get all the different sizes. Paste that in and actually move this one. Grab the move tool and then put this one at negative 64, 0, and flip that horizontally and see how we're built. It's slowly building up some different shapes we can use. Use a whole bunch of those middle ones, and then we can turn and go direction. I'll do that here, copy, paste that. And in this one, probably get rid of this. Select everything else in there. Flip it vertically. And now we know it's going to align right with that when we put it in the right position. Negative 64, 64 pixels down. And things are going to start lining up like that. Select all those, copy, paste. And notice how building these, you have that initial starting point. So first this is gonna be 64 pixels over, 64 pixels down, 64 by 64, that's how I got up there. One of my shapes got a little off, so I think it's probably this one. That worked. But still a little bit, I could go back in there and edit the same between them, but copy and paste and then small edits on each one. And then that second tool allows you to go in and select each individual piece along the way. And then build up something that you can put in different positions. Maybe you want something that's more like a sloping one, and the different parts of the tile set you need. I'll go with these. That's enough to can take our first look at tile sets. If I select everything and move that over to 0, then it's all on the page. There's 3 64 pixel blocks. So so 64 times 3 is 192. Is that correct? I think. Try that. So now I can go in and set the size for that image. I want to measure in pixels. 192 wide by 128 tall. Nope, that was apparently not right at all. Oh, I see what I had everything measured in. I should have set the units first down here. So let me go back in here and resize this. So I grab this first one that should be a 64 by 64 block and say that should be 64 pixels by 64 pixels. There we go. And grab this next one. And that should be 64 by 64 pixels. And it should be positioned 64 pixels over. So it sits right next to that one. See how useful it is to be able to get back to all this, and you want to take a little bit of time with it. Let's see, so this is going to come 128 over and be 64 by 64. Be at 0, 64, and then be 64 by 64. This one will be 128 over, 64 down, and 64 by 64. There we go. So a little bit of a tile set that we can use. Just a couple of them there to start painting pictures with. I guess I could just copy and paste really quick to finish that out, and then we'd have it square, but does everybody see the basic idea there? How we're putting those together. I'm gonna save this. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Documents. Goes. Some spreadsheet notes. So this is oh no, example 1. I'm gonna open a new file as well and look at some other tips. It's 5 to 3. I don't think we're gonna get to loading in the tile set today. We'll look at that Monday. Wasted way too much time with that good stuff. So what I forgot last time and had to do all that, first thing we want to do is come to properties and make sure we're measuring in pixels. And something that can be useful, I'll go ahead and put a different size here, 512. That way this doesn't happen again. 512. Go ahead and set our some starting size, right? We'll adjust it after we know the actual size of our image. But now if we go file and save template, so file, save template, and we got it measured and measuring in pixels and a starting size, we can set that as the default. And now every time we open a new project, it's going to open with those settings. So it's a good idea to set up templates along the way. We'll see that in our game engine and scripts and stuff as well. If you want to do something like, say, have a box and then make some, add some designs to it, right? Another color. This stroke, instead of a fill, just give this a stroke color. There we go. Okay. And then if I grab the pencil and I don't know, add some like little cracks here or something like that. Again, you want to make sure things line up. So there's different methods of ways to do it. So what I've found I like to do is do some marks at the edge like that first. So, right, it's cracks in stone. Oops. So now I'm going to select all of them and kind of do the same thing. So copy and paste, move this right next to it, flip it horizontally, and set them right next to each other where they need to be, which will probably be easier to do if we had the size in here, right? So I'll copy that, go someplace where I know exactly where it's at. Oops. I know exactly what size it is. So at 0, 0, 64 wide, 64 by 64. And I could probably scroll in here. So I'll select all of it and copy and paste, and then put this right next to it. 64, 0, still the same size, and when we flip it vertically, lines up. Same thing again, copy all this, copy, paste, set this at 0, 64 down, and then the size is what it is. And then if we take that and flip it horizontally, those little marks at the end, which are actually a little more exaggerated than I normally do, we know for certain that things are going to line up next to each other that way. And then once you have that, then come back in and fill in a few different cracks. Yeah. Maybe I'll copy this. Copy that. It's 128 by 128, so maybe we make it, whoops, 64 by 64 pixels again. Now copy that and paste it. Copy that and paste it in. And then we know we can put this one next to it and it's going to line up. See those themes lined up, and then we can come back and add details in here so that it looks like we have different types of stones. So this crack just goes right here. This one comes all the way down. Have something connecting here. And our cracks in the stone are like doing different things. Whereas this one, maybe we could have the long cracks over here. And you can see where it's going there, right? And then we can do different things on each tile and have several different tiles that we know we're gonna line up. Takes a little while to do that, but as far as your game assets, you might want to do something like that for your background. It'll be really good practice. Tile sets are incredibly useful. We'll talk about tile sets and tile map. And an example on Monday, as well as the physics and things like that. And once you have all the sizes and everything, right, just like we saw before, I guess I'll go ahead and save this. Document properties. Whoops. Remember, we have all those filters too. So once everything's sized, you come in here and I don't know, give it like some sort of material. Oh, whoops. Select it. And then come in here and apply like a marbling material. That didn't seem to do anything. Let's try a different material. Filters. There we go. Age it. That just turned it gray. Different filters will have different things, do different things. I was hoping there would be something that would look good on some of these. Relation, blood erosion. There's nothing's wanting to apply on this one. Oh wait, it was just taking forever. No, for some reason that. Oh yeah, that one's just taking forever. I probably should have used a smaller one. But we know the size of it and everything. So if we come down to document properties, we know that's going to be 128 wide by 64 tall for when we export our final sprite sheet. So okay, I'm not sure what that filter did. It kind of seemed to kind of mess things up. Let me try that again. Document properties. 8 by 64. And we can use several different sheets to load in the sprite sheet. All the examples you'll see, they'll probably have everything in one image. But if I save this in the same spot, when we go to create a tile set, we could use both of these sprite sheets together in the same tile set to make a tile map. All the examples and once you download, probably have it all set up as one file, which obviously makes it a lot easier. But while getting started here and learning what you're doing, maybe split them up between different things. They're all SVG graphics, so can't really preview them. And or you can export it to ping files, just page, that same place, and this one. Oh, I don't know why. Oh, so the software automatically detected that I was making a tile set, so it tried to export them all independently. So make sure you go to single file and export that. Yeah. Then we have those. We will use those on Monday for a small example. Kind of see where it's going. So for following along that example, you might want to have a couple of tile sets built for class, and then as we work through it in class, you can just load in the tile sets that are actually gonna go on your game for Friday next week. It does take practice to get the art. But yeah, I set it up. The graphics are very time consuming, but this is, the classes has design right in the names and of course learning objectives that involve artwork. So we do need to create some, so I said, put in the instructions at least 50%. So to count your objects, make sure you drew at least half of them. But more is fine too, if you want to draw, because at that point, you're mixing and matching art styles, so if you want to go ahead and draw the other 50%, that way it matches the style all the way across, it'll probably end up looking a lot better. Okay, whole bunch of stuff there. I kind of messed up that section on the get plug in. We'll look at that on the next thing we make, because now it gets installed, it's not going to cause problems on my computer. Does anybody have any questions before we wrap up for today? Just give it a few seconds. I'm unmute. Looks like nobody's reaching for the mute button. All right, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you all on Monday. You have a great weekend.